They lie to you. They say that finding a partner is the key to a happy retirement. They told me that sitting alone in this kitchen was a sign of failure. I followed that advice, and it led me to absolute misery. Look at this empty chair. To you, it looks lonely. To me, it looks like survival. I am 77 years old. I don't have enough time left to be polite. I traded my peace for a girlfriend because I was afraid of the silence. And I learned the hard way. The silence isn't your enemy. The noise of trying to please someone else, that is the enemy. When my wife Helen died, the silence in this house didn't just feel empty. It felt like an accusation. I was 61. Suddenly Saturday nights were a punishment. I would turn on the TV in the living room and the radio in the kitchen just to make the air feel occupied. My son, he meant well. He'd come over, look at me sitting in the dark, and say, "Dad, you're too young to give up. You need to get back out there." Get back out there. What a terrible phrase. As if life is a game and I was sitting on the bench. I listened to him. I listened to the neighbors who looked at me with those pitying eyes. I became obsessed with the idea that I was incomplete. I told myself, if I find a woman, the silence will stop hurting. So, at 67, I did what they told me. I got a girlfriend, Karen. She was a good woman, kind, organized. My friends slapped me on the back. "Way to go, Bill. You won the lottery." I smiled. I nodded. But inside, I was exhausted. Nobody tells you about the work of dating when you are old. It wasn't romantic. It was logistical. It was driving 40 minutes across town when I just wanted to nap. It was expensive dinners I didn't taste because the music was too loud. It was the Branson trips, spending thousands of dollars to go look at shows I didn't care about, just because that's what couples do. I became a people pleaser again. I had retired from my job at the factory, but I had taken on a new job, the boyfriend. Every time my phone buzzed with a text, "Where are you? What are we doing Sunday?" I didn't feel excitement. I felt a heavy weight in my chest. I was doing everything right. I had the companion, I had the plans, I had the noise, I was winning, but I was miserable. I didn't date because I wanted love. I dated because I was a coward who couldn't face his own company. It wasn't one big fight that broke me. It was the slow suffocation. I remember the month it started falling apart. I had just paid the credit card bill. The numbers made my stomach turn. Dinners, gas, tickets to shows, new shirts she said I needed. I looked at my savings, the money I had put away for peace. It was bleeding out. But worse than the money was the time. I have a hobby, model trains. It sounds silly to some, but down in my garage, with the smell of sawdust and glue, I am the king of my own world. One Tuesday I was down there just gluing a tiny tree onto a mountain. My hands were steady. My breathing was slow. I was happy. Then the door opened. "Bill, are you going to be down here all day? We have to be at the Johnsons by 6. My shoulders locked up. I didn't want to go to the Johnsons. I didn't want to put on slacks. I didn't want to talk about politics or golf. But I put down the glue. I turned off the light. And I went, that was the pattern. Every time I found a moment of stillness, the relationship demanded I fill it with noise. The breaking point happened on a Thursday. We were sitting in my living room, the same room where I watched my children learn to walk, the same room where I sat with Helen, in the quiet. I was tired. My bones felt heavy. I had a cold beer in my hand, and I was just looking forward to the commercial break so I could close my eyes. Karen turned to me. She was smiling. She looked sweet. She said, "Bill, this back and forth driving is silly. Think of the gas we'd save. Think of the time. Maybe I should just move in here." The room stopped. I had the beer halfway to my mouth. I froze. In the movies, this is the happy moment. The music swells. The old man cries tears of joy because he isn't alone anymore. I didn't feel joy. I felt panic. Pure, cold panic. It started in my stomach and went up to my throat. I looked around the room. I saw my magazines on the table, exactly where I left them. I saw my boots by the door, muddy, just how I like them. I imagined her boxes in the hallway. I imagined the TV channel changing. I imagined having to explain why I wanted to sit in silence for an hour before breakfast. I imagined losing the only thing I had left, my sanctuary. I looked at her. She was waiting for an answer. She wanted to be a we. But in that moment, sitting right next to her, I realized the terrifying truth. I was lonely. I was lonelier with her sitting there, waiting for me to speak, than I had ever been by myself. Because when you are by yourself, you are just solitary. But when you are with someone you don't truly need, you are acting, you are hiding. I was trapped in a cage I built with my own fear. I put the beer down on the coaster. My hand was shaking. I knew if I said yes, my life was over. Not my life, but my life. The conversation was hard. Breaking a good woman's heart is not something you put on your resume. I told her I couldn't do it. I told her I was too set in my ways. She cried. She called me selfish. Maybe I was. But when the door finally clicked shut behind her, and I heard her car pull away down the driveway, I didn't feel guilty. I felt like I had just taken off a pair of boots that were 3 sizes too small. The air in the hallway changed instantly. The pressure in my chest, that tight, heavy band that had been there for 8 months, just evaporated. The next morning was the first day of my real life. I want you to picture this. I woke up naturally. No alarm. No phone buzzing on the nightstand with a good morning text that I had to answer. The house was absolutely silent. For the first time in years, the silence didn't scare me. It welcomed me. I walked into the kitchen. The sun was just hitting the linoleum floor, highlighting the dust motes dancing in the air. I didn't rush to clean them. I made my coffee. Black, strong. I took the mug and walked out to the back porch. The dew was still on the grass. I sat in my chair, this chair right here, and I asked myself a question I hadn't asked in a decade. Bill, what do you want to do today? Not what should I do? Not what does Karen want to do? Not what does my son think is healthy for me? What do I want? I decided to go fishing. Not the way you go on a date, where you have to pack a picnic and make sure the other person isn't bored. I threw my rod in the truck. I wore my old stained cargo pants. I didn't shave. I drove to the lake, turned off the radio, and just sat by the water for 5 hours. I didn't catch a single fish, and it was the best day I've had in 20 years. I watched a heron hunt for minnows. I watched the clouds change shape. My mind, which had been so cluttered with schedules and relationship maintenance, finally cleared. I realized that I wasn't bored. I was at peace. When I came home, I did something that would have horrified my old self, the people pleaser. I was hungry. I didn't set the table. I didn't turn on the oven. I made a ham sandwich with plenty of mustard, and I stood right there over the kitchen sink, and I ate it. Crumbs fell in the sink. I didn't care. I didn't have to ask anyone, "How was your day?" I didn't have to listen to a story about a co-worker I don't know. I just enjoyed the taste of the ham and the quiet hum of the refrigerator. It sounds small, doesn't it? To a young person, eating a sandwich over the sink sounds depressing. But to me, it felt like I was a king in his own castle. I went down to the garage. I turned on the overhead light. My model train set was waiting. The little tree I had been gluing was right where I left it. I sat down on my stool. I worked on that layout for 4 hours straight. I entered that flow state, where the world disappears, and it's just you and your hands. No one opened the door. No one sighed loudly from the top of the stairs to let me know I was being antisocial. I was completely, utterly absorbed. And when I finally came up for air, it was dark outside. I poured a glass of whiskey, just one. I sat in the living room, the same room where I had almost panicked. I looked at the empty sofa where Karen used to sit. I didn't feel a lack. I felt a presence, the presence of me. I realized that for 60 years, between my parents, my bosses, my late wife, my kids, and then Karen, I had never actually lived with just Bill. I had always been a husband, a father, an employee, a boyfriend. I was always a mirror reflecting someone else's needs. Now, I am just Bill. And it turns out, I really like Bill. I like that he goes to bed at 9 p.m. I like that he watches old westerns without apologizing for it. I like that he talks to the cat. I found out that alone is a physical location. Lonely is a state of mind. I was lonely in that relationship because I was invisible. Here, in this empty house, I am seen. I am seen by myself. I have reclaimed my time, and at 77, time is the only currency that matters. Every minute I spend in this rocking chair, watching the wind in the trees, is a minute I stole back from the noise. I am talking to you now. Yes, you, the one who is swiping on apps because you are terrified of Sunday nights. The one staying in a draining relationship because you think it's better than an empty room. Listen to me. You do not need a partner to be valid. Your energy is a bank account. And trust me, at this stage of life, the bank stops taking deposits. You only have withdrawals left. Do not spend your precious remaining coins on drama. Do not spend them on managing someone else's emotions, just so you can say you have a date for the wedding. Society screams that you are incomplete without a better half. That is a lie. You are already whole. The silence in your house is not a defect. It is a canvas. If you are alone right now, do not fill that silence with noise. Fill it with yourself. Eat the sandwich over the sink. Sleep in the middle of the bed. Peace is not a luxury. It is oxygen. Don't wait until you're 77 to stop performing. Look at the empty chair across from you. It's not empty. It's reserved for your peace. Defend it. I know why you were afraid. I see you. You keep the television on in the background just to hear a voice. You check your phone the moment the conversation lulls. You stay in relationships that drain you because the alternative, sitting alone in a quiet room, feels like dying. You think the silence is your enemy. You think it means you are forgotten. But listen to this, old man. I have walked through the noise, and I have walked through the quiet. And I tell you this, death is a quiet visitor. When you get to where I am, the noise of the world, the opinions of your neighbors, the shoulds of your family, the desperate need to be part of a couple, it all falls away like dead leaves. Death strips away the audience. In the end, there is no one left to perform for. There is only you. We spend our whole lives running from ourselves, trying to bury our thoughts under other people's problems. We treat solitude like a disease, but solitude is the only place where you can actually meet your soul. If you cannot stand your own company now, while you are young and vibrant, how will you bear it when the world naturally slows down? Peace is not found in another person's approval. Peace is found when you can sit in an empty room and feel no lack. Here is what I want you to do. Tonight, do not run. When the house gets quiet, do not turn on Netflix. Do not text that person who makes you feel anxious just to fill the void. Sit in your chair, turn off the lights. For 10 minutes, just sit, listen to your breath, watch the shadows on the wall, feel the panic rise, and then let it pass. Realize that the silence cannot hurt you. Introduce yourself to the person sitting in that chair. You are the only person who will be with you from your first breath to your last. Learn to like him. He is the only one who stays.